Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Let's try that again. Hi, welcome to the June 24th edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with me, your astrologer, Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and we're here today to talk about what's going on in the planets. And this setup is a little bit tight, so I'm just going to show you what we're going off of. This is today's chart, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to see what else we can talk about today. So welcome. Okay, so we're going to hope that the mower does not come by the window because he came at exactly 11 a.m., which is when I start this. And he did the grass outside the window, but hopefully he's done, although he may weed whack. So there could be a little bit of interruption, but we'll just have to power through, huh? So let's see what we have today. Last night, whoa, big time last night. Last night, Neptune went in retrograde motion in the sky. So what does that mean? It means that, hey, you like my red glasses here? Those of you who can't see, I'm wearing red readers. It's kind of a signature thing. But anyway, and if you are listening and would like to see me, you can go over to YouTube and type in Artful, A-R-T-F-U-L, Shelley, S-H-E-L-L-E-Y, and that's where I have my videos. But we've got Neptune going retrograde in the sky, and he just did it over time zones last night. So in the Eastern time zone, it was at 1:02 a.m. Let me see. Hang on, wrong day. 12:31 a.m. And in the Pacific, he did it at 9:31 p.m. And so that would mean that it was about 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, actually, in England. Neptune retrograde. I know we had a show on that last week, but I don't even think that we really talked in depth or as much as I wanted to talk last week about it. And I'm just going to clear up this real quick, see if I can make myself clearer. That seems a little clearer. Anyway, yeah, so Neptune can make us feel really sentimental. We can feel foggy. We can feel dreamy, out of touch. I have Saturn in Pisces, and I notice that I feel disconnected. And Saturn is something that connects you and organizes you. But when you have the ruler of Neptune influencing your Saturn as strongly as it is mine, it can make you feel fuzzy and not thinking right. There was a news story recently, I think it was a couple days ago, about a man named Steve Bing. I think it was Steve Bing. His last name was Bing. I think his first name was Steve. And he inherited around $600 million when he was 18 years old. He was born the same year I was born. And he got into some movie stuff in Hollywood after he dropped out of college. He went to Hollywood to try and write for movies and produce movies, which he did. And he decided to end his life. He jumped off of a building a few days ago. And I've been thinking about that, so I did a chart on him, and he has Saturn in Pisces. So that energy, especially when the ruling planet of your Saturn turns direction, it can have a heavy influence on the psyche. And the psyche for Pisces influenced people is the water in your body, is the ethereal qualities. It's the water in the environment. We have a lot of water in the sky right now. We have liquids in the earth known as lava bubbling around and influencing the world. And the water that is in the sky influences our days. I looked at my calendar for the week on the weather app, and it said lightning storms every single day this week. And I'm a believer in quantum reality, so I'm like, I can't live in rain and overcast every day this week. It's just, I know I get very dark and low when that happens. Even atmospherically, we can feel pressure, the atmospheric pressure and the barometer. And so when that happens, we definitely feel it physically and in our minds, in our emotions, and in our intentions. We aren't as strong behind taking action. And of course, Mars is still in Pisces right now. Sorry, I got an itch. There we go. Mars in Pisces is influencing us in ways that it's hard to qualify or quantify. That the boundaries have broken down. We have more sentiment towards other people, more understanding. And the whole Black Lives Matter protests and influence right now, we all feel that. We all have an opinion, but I think the wave has gone in favor of that agenda. And I say agenda from the standpoint of there is a lot that has to be done. And it is about anti-racism and not just saying, you need to treat me better, but we all have to really take a good long look at ourselves. And Pisces is really good for doing that. So Neptune retrograde, and I apologize if my hair here, for those who see me, is bothering you. I actually kind of like it doing that. But I know it can be annoying. I looked at my videos after last week and it was like, oh no. So yeah, we're influenced by this ethereal, esoteric quality that Pisces has. And then Mars taking action, that makes the agenda. That says, no, we're not just sensitive to it all. We are understanding on a deeper life level, on a visceral level, how that is an issue for all the collective. And that's what Pisces is good about. And Pisces, it interacts with us in subtle ways, very subtle ways. So our dreams, we have spirit who is very strongly influencing us in the time of Pisces. Anytime planets go through Pisces, we feel little voices or little inclinations and gut feelings to do something, to do something that may not be comfortable for us. We keep getting this inkling that it's time to move, or it's time to start a business, or we need to call someone. These little whispers in our soul, in our spirit, are very Neptunian and Piscean. So I just want to say, those of you who are influenced by Pisces in your natal chart, all of the rest of us now understand through this influence what it's like to be a Pisces. I mean, I have Saturn in Pisces, so people, when they know in about 2.5 years, when Saturn gets to Pisces, will all get a taste of what it's like to have that in your natal chart. And, you know, while I've had it in my natal chart all my life, it's only been there one other time directly at 0 degrees of Pisces. So I'll have to go back and relive when that happened to me around 27, 28 years old, and try and remember what it was like in those years. And I definitely, I was practicing Buddhism right around 23. I started practicing Buddhism, which is a spiritual energy and spiritual connection to Pisces, is, you know, expanding your awareness of something other than the material world. And so it's even more than that. And when it affects the collective, when everyone goes through this experience, we're going to see an awakening of a creative side. We're going to see an awakening of our personal stories, how we want to tell our stories, how we want to go back and experience past emotional traumas or joyful things. We go back to a time when we felt better, to a time when we have good memories, to a time when we felt connected to someone else. Someone else may come into our lives. There can be influences of past career choices coming back in. This is Saturn in Pisces I'm talking about. And so right now we are approaching, and actually in until September, we're in Saturn in, actually, is it September? I think it's September. Hang on one second. I'm gonna double check. I think it's around September 9th that Saturn goes back into Capricorn. No, it goes in sooner than that. I was going to say that seemed like really long. Okay, so very soon, July 3rd, actually even July 2nd. So we're only a week away from Saturn, which probably means that's next week's topic. But Saturn in Aquarius means that we are going to experience what Aquarius is. And that means a collective understanding of people as who they are, you know, not this view of what we want them to be. That would be Neptune in Aquarius, but actually who they are. Saturn, it's owning what the structure of that sign is. So it's about how we do business. And of course, when Saturn went in March, we all went online. That's the way we're going to earn a living when we deal with Saturn in Aquarius. And since Saturn went retrograde, he's now back close to Capricorn. So we're opening back up the country, the world, everyone's getting back out and about. And I knew this was going to happen because all the planets that were at end degrees of Capricorn, ready to go into Aquarius, were all about structure and hierarchy and bricks and mortar buildings. And so when those planets retrograde, we get that taste of the structure. We get the experience again of being in the hierarchy, being in the system of the world as we have known it in the tradition. And the tradition is hierarchy. The tradition is going to work in a building. The tradition is having an authority figure dictating when we put on our masks or when we don't. I know people are on both sides of the fence with that, but I'm going to err on the side of caution. I definitely, and you don't ask for my opinion on this, but you are watching my podcast and listening. So I think that what's it going to hurt? If it helps people stay safe and healthy, what is it going to hurt? We put on helmets to ride a bike. We stop at stop signs so we don't hit other cars. Why can't we put on a mask for the rest of the year, for maybe 8 months? It's not going to kill us to do that, but it may kill someone else if we don't. Think about that. So that's my high horse for the moment. Anyway, yeah, I think that we need to be conscientious. It is definitely a time where I understand people want to be back the way things were. And there's a side of me that's thinking, well, this is the way it is right now. And I can't stop everyone from, getting together and spreading this virus, but I can put a mask on myself and caution things, take caution in my day-to-day life and know that we are heading for a very big moment where this is much more insidious and has much more strength in our day-to-day lives. So I just want everyone to be aware that we are heading for a bloom of this. Could you shut the door if you come in here, or even shut it if you don't? I'm fixated on it. Thank you. The door was open. Anyway, so it's really helpful if we are considerate of other people, and that's a Piscean thing. So Mars in Pisces, we're feeling the connection. Mars in Pisces, like I've said before, it's breaking down barriers. It's breaking down anything that it's against. So right now, and always, I guess, Pisces opposes Virgo. Virgo is hygiene and health. We are breaking down those barriers between people with the lack of health. And we are increasing hygiene, but not necessarily completely enough to do any good with this. So we'll see. Mercury rules hygiene and health, and Mercury is retrograde right now, and he's in the sign of Cancer. Let's double check that. Cancer or Gemini. Yeah, so he's at 13 degrees of Cancer retrograde. And that means that he is experiencing the air, respiration. Gemini rules respiratory issues. Retrograde means he's going back over where we've been. So as he went forward, he brought breathing and communication, everything. You can see this between my chin and my chest. That area is influenced by Gemini. And of course, the throat is influenced by Taurus, but it goes down into lungs and oxygen because Gemini is an air sign. having Gemini in Cancer right now is about, let's bring it over here so I don't have to keep turning around. Gemini in Cancer is going to be about how we nurture ourselves and how we are able to speak our truth within the family unit. And as he goes retrograde, continues to go retrograde, he gets back, I believe, into the last couple degrees of Gemini. So I'm just gonna see if that is accurate. He does not. He only gets to 5 Cancer, so my bad. The reason I keep associating Mercury going back into Gemini is because he rules Gemini. And all the other planets we're just in Gemini. Now the sun is at 1 degree of Cancer today. I'm going to shift gears here. Sun at 1 degree Cancer, and that means he's exactly opposite of the Capricorn energy at 1 degree Capricorn. And that is the South Node. South Node's at 29 Sagittarius. He's in conjunct, the sun is in conjunct, meaning 150 degrees apart or 30 degrees apart, of Saturn, and then 24 Jupiter, 24 Pluto. They are like that in the sky right now, Jupiter and Pluto. It means that my interpretation is Jupiter is transformative, Pluto rules death and rebirth. Jupiter rules the next house over from Scorpio, which Pluto rules. And that means that's the culmination of the death and rebirth house. So we are going to see probably more deaths appear in the near future. And Jupiter continues to move retrograde. He just went retrograde not too long ago, like I want to say 3 weeks ago. And of course, Pluto went retrograde last week. So they're both going back, trying to make a statement from where they've been and understand it, make the shift of what's been going on with whatever that topic or issue is in late Capricorn. The late degrees of a sign are a culmination of an energy. It's a heightened awareness of the energy and a release before it goes into the next sign. So going backwards, which is Saturn and Aquarius, he's taking that energy from what he discovered with the new Aquarian energy, and he's going back into the old energy, trying to say, look what I found. This is something you need to pay attention to, because later in the year, I'm going back into Aquarius. And when I do that, which is December, mid-December, you're going to re-experience these issues. So here's your respite. Here's your break, a breather to understand what that means and get yourselves together and get your ducks in a row and get your houses in order for what's going to happen. The only thing we haven't experienced is the Jupiter going into Aquarius. And I guess in the last couple of weeks, I've really looked farther ahead in the year, and I've seen Jupiter and Saturn together in Aquarius. Jupiter is transformation and it's freedom. And Aquarius is very much the antithesis to generosity in some capacities. It's not that they're not generous, it's that Leo is the opposite sign to Aquarius. And Aquarius, and the signs usually embody like a yin and yang and an opposites kind of energy. So Leo is very gregarious, very out in the public eye, very much about me, and what's going on for me, but at the same time wants to connect, wants to share a similar story. And I mentioned this last week, the Pluto in Leo for Trump, he expects that people appreciate him. He expects that people connect and there's a commonality, and he deeply wants drop my paper, a public commonality. He wants the collective. Pluto is very much a generational planet because it takes so long to go over many degrees, like over a decade. A decade worth of people have this same energy. And so it's how you relate. It also rules the 8th house in the upper half of the zodiac. And that part of the zodiac is the we, the connection to the collective. And so his view as a child of that Pluto and Leo generation is about, we all have the same collective vision for the future. And that is, I'm in charge. In a way, that's kind of what it is, because Leo is leadership. And so the generation that shares this energy is very much wanting to be the quintessential energy of saying this is how it is, wants to be the absolute. And we're collectively agreeing that this is the way it is. And he wants to be king. Like, that's what Leo is. It's royalty. It's the reign of somebody, R-E-I-G-N. And so we see that, and I personally see it with my family, and their generation is his generation. So we have that collective group in his age range agreeing with a lot of what he does, because they're a generation that says, yeah, that's okay, you're in charge, you go do it, that's the Leo way, and we'll support you in it, and we're connected to that. But that energy is in direct conflict to Pluto and Capricorn. It is 150 degrees apart, and that means that we are moving in and direct hit, first off, for the country, because that's where our Pluto is as a country, and it's a re-evaluation for the country with the Pluto return of understanding the collective mindset. What is it that we want as a collective? And because it's a late degree Capricorn, it is the structure of the country. It's the roots of the country. And we're moving immediately after this energy, and as we did in 1776, into the Aquarian energy. So we started a country at the end of a Pluto cycle, but the beginning of an Aquarian cycle. And so not long after we were born, the main influence was Pluto in Aquarius. And so as Saturn moves there, Saturn is the hierarchical structure. We are as a country, and I know all over the world, because of the world point being triggered at 15 Capricorn, or excuse me, I think it's 15 Scorpio, excuse me. And then the nodes have been running through the Capricorn and Cancer polarity. We have been feeling it specifically as Americans, and probably also specifically as English, because those two countries are so linked to that Capricorn Pluto energy. And so, you know, not knowing really what was going on in the world in 1776 besides America and England, unfortunately, I did not do well in world history, although I do have an interest in it now, probably from a standpoint of politics. I am not as well versed, but to be fair, you know, given Black Lives Matter, we do have a very limited view of actual world history, that it is very much a white male history. So I'm looking forward to that being fleshed out over time, that we really do, like even just the burning of the quote unquote Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma. So many bits of information flying in fast and furious in this news cycle lately. Excuse me. So we have this energy that is awakening us. The Aquarian energy wants us all to understand other people. And as Saturn is now about to go back into Capricorn in a week, we are increasing that authoritarianism, which is quintessential to Capricorn. It's about, this is, pardon me, itchy nose. This is about how we understood the new energy coming in, which is very much about the flattening of hierarchies and then moving back into the hierarchy. So it's going to reemerge. And while we've already experienced the flattening of it, those who have extremely invested in the hierarchy, which are churches and businesses and people in authority, people who run companies, who run movie industry and TV industry and news industries, publishing, anything where they, and Facebook, all of the hierarchy and the quintessential top of the ladder energy is desperately grasping to hold on to power over the people. But the people are rising up. Aquarius is unions. Aquarius is the people. Aquarius is how we understand the collective mindset. And it's really hard to break out of that. But the good part of it, like I've said, is its individuality within the collective. So this time around, whether or not we've had it in the past, we are absolutely focused on personal power, autonomy, within the collective. So it is not this, oh, a communism mindset is coming. It isn't that. It is about feeding the individuality, feeding who we are as individuals, entrepreneurs, what we want out of our individual lives, and how we can contribute back to the society. So in my view, as a Democrat or an independent-minded person, it is very much about understanding how we have to respect each other as individuals, as long as another's rights are not trampled. And that's the little addendum. You don't get to take away someone else's rights in the name of your rights. That's the collective consciousness. And it's a spiritual thing. So what I've realized this week, and maybe even in the last 24 hours, is that actually, no, it's been a while longer, but how I explain it, there was something else I came up with this morning associated with this, but I don't specifically remember. But what it is we as individuals have to take ownership. And whenever you are triggered to point out someone else and say, you're not wearing a mask and you're not doing what you're supposed to. I watched it on the video this week of a man who went into a Walmart and was not wearing a mask. He was challenging it. And here in Orlando, as of last Saturday, everyone has to wear a mask when you're out in public. It's put down, I guess, by the mayor or the government of Orlando. So when I go out, I have to wear one, whether I want to or not. That's the rule. That's the law. I don't know if it's the law. It's probably just the rule. But this man, and it wasn't local, but he went into a Walmart and they said, no, you can't come in here. And he was pushing and shoving, and he was going to go in, and he was going to make a stand, and he fell down. And it's interesting because I know the man taking the video was laughing at him. I have more compassion than that. I didn't find that funny. I found that sad and pitiable because he was misguided, but yet he was standing up for what he believed. So yes, you can have what you believe, but not when it puts other people at risk or takes away their right to be healthy, to live in society and not be at risk. And yes, it is a private business, but that private business has a right to say what they want and to create the structure with which they're going to do business with the public, because that's our country, and private property is still private property for most people. Of course, there are other things about that, and I could digress, but I'm not going to do that. Trying not to rant, but when we live in a country as a collective, and when this country was founded, this is what it was founded on, the idea that we are all different ideas, different religions coming together and working as a collective to build this amazing dream that we have for a country. And that dream has been polarized, not surprising. Again, polarity is nodes. So the polarity has broken down a certain aspect of our society. But I am a very optimistic astrologer, and I know Aquarius energy is there to show us the collective consciousness that we are all human, that we are in this together, and it's not going to, quite honestly, let us get away without learning that lesson. And it can be very painful. I personally have had an opposition to my Sun, my Pluto, my Uranus, and my Mercury as Neptune has gone through Pisces. It's hit in opposition to every single one of my planets in Aquarius, 11th house, in the sign of Virgo. And it has taken away a lot of the things that my ego has held up as righteous. And my point really overall with what I was trying to get at is when we are triggered to be righteous, that is ego. That is not spirit. Spirit wants to work towards collective understanding and raise everyone up. It does not want to say you're to blame and you're wrong and bring another down. So while it feels good in an ego mindset to be right and to say you're to blame and I'm not responsible in any way, that is not an accurate view of reality. As much as we hear, I'm living in reality, I live this too because my mother talks about being a realist, but reality is a collective agreement. And as we live in this reality, that shifts. That shifts as we wake up. That shifts as we get closer to a spiritual mindset. And that doesn't mean you can't live in a practical world. I'm a Virgo. I'm practical, grounded. But you have to have a broader awareness of the collective. And it's not just you get to call all the shots for everyone. The collective energy moves the machine. And that's what we're heading into. So hopefully I didn't trigger anyone with that. We have Moon at 21 Cancer today, and then he moves into Leo. So I'm fond of Leo energy, and I have Venus early Leo. So when the Moon is at late Cancer, it is understanding a practical, driven side of things, because Cancers can be really integrated with Capricorn energy. They are the sensitive, emotional kind, and they do change moods every few days. That's because their ruling energy is the Moon. And the Moon goes through different signs every 2.5 days. But they will also get energy from Capricorn being the opposite sign. They look for the groundedness of a Capricorn person or a Capricorn entity, such as a business or a government. So Cancers respect authority and respect the consciousness of hierarchy. So we're feeling that right now. Mercury, like I said, is there. Mercury is about our ideas and our ideology. And it's about kind of laying some of those bare in what we really value as a nurturing entity right now. It's also papers and paperwork. And I will venture to say, I believe Vesta is also in Cancer right now. And Vesta can be the added energy. Oh yeah, it is. It's right around 9 degrees of Cancer. So Vesta is the keeper in mythology. Vesta is the Vestal Virgins, and they're the keepers of the governmental papers. So then, I mean, I'll tell you the story that just came to mind. And then also we have Chiron at 8 or 9 degrees of Aries. So what happens then is they square each other, 90-degree angle, which is a square. And that means that there is friction, there is conflict, or something that has to be worked out between two entities. So Vesta in Cancer, ruling the papers around the home and family, squaring Aries Chiron, which is a wounding in the drive to get something done, the fire energy. And so yesterday, it turned out that my daughter, who had just lost her driver's license in May, in one of those security machines at a gated community, it ate her driver's license. She had to get a new one the end of May, not even a full month ago. And this week we discovered that it has been misplaced again. That is the kind of thing, the document, the government document associated with home. And it's also because it's right next to Mercury, which is transportation, communications. She's going on a vacation in 2 days and needs to fly and doesn't have that document. So we've had to spend the last day going over how she can figure out the solution. And Aries drive, getting stuff done, just doing things without thinking. So she put it in her back pocket of a pair of shorts, but it is no longer in any of her shorts. So it is still missing. Mercury going direct might rectify that. I believe that it probably will pop up after Mercury goes direct. And I am a believer that quantum reality dictates that multiple parallel realities always intertwine and mingle, and you could go in and out of different timelines. So it could be in another timeline. And I'm hoping that when Mercury goes direct, we go back to where it is in this timeline, and it'll pop up again. So yeah, let's see what else. I just keep moving stuff around. Sorry, I've got these messages popping up on my screen. They're kind of distracting. So yeah, Mars is at 26 Pisces. He is going to be going into Aries right around, like I said, the 2nd of July. And this week is absolutely a initiating energy, a strong birth of an ideology, of a drive, collective drive, because the last planet he connected to was Neptune. So you're at Neptune, you're getting the collective mindset, then you go into Aries, which is the horizon. You're coming into the physical plane and awakening to your own personal ability to move forward. In astrology, Pisces is the last house, the 12th house. So that would be right here. Let's see. I'm trying to see how you would see it. I'm reversing what I'm saying. Right here in the chart is Pisces. I don't know that it would translate with this up on the screen. Let me see. Scorpio. Yeah, see, this is the 12th house for me, but it's actually reversed for you. So right here's the 12th house. Here's the first house below the horizon. And that is the house of birth. So Aries rules the first sign of the zodiac, the initiating energy in astrology, and the drive to come in, the labor that it takes to get into this world. So as we birth this Mars, we are birthing the energy and power and masculinity and strength of energy into the world. So I do see it's going to be a bloody energy coming in for the summer. Unfortunately, we do have a square of Aries to, what is it? It's Mercury and Mars square in July, late July. I was just looking this up. Got it right here. But of course, I need my glasses to tell you. July 26th, we have a square of Mercury to Aries. That is going to be a week of intensity, and it will be home. And of course, we are the homeland. Mars, and this can be true for any other countries, you know, the homeland is Cancer, but specifically America, because we are an American by birth country. So Mars in Aries is the police. It's bloodshed, it's aggression, it's guns. It's going to be a conflict. Mercury can be accidents. There can be an accident associated with police. My guess is it's probably going to be something along those lines. I already hear about conflicts with the police driving up and down certain neighborhoods with sirens blaring all night long. I've heard of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you can go to my video comments and leave comments if you've heard something else. I've seen the videos of fireworks given to people and they're shooting each other, and I don't know how much of that's true. So take it with a grain of salt, as you should most news. Do your research, feel it in your gut, understand it with your life, because that helps you to align with spirit and stay away from easily being led by news stories and anyone with an agenda in a position of authority. And that isn't just the president right now, it's governors and mayors and politicians and people on the radio, everyone who has a voice. It could even be me. I mean, my agenda, I suppose, is to awaken people to a stronger clarity around love and acceptance and understanding astrology, because that's what I'm here for. So anyway, Venus is retrograde at 5 degrees Gemini. I'm just trying to get this all out before the podcast ends, and I've only got maybe 2 more minutes before I get cut off here. So Venus retrograde in Gemini, she is going direct tonight. And, oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. Mercury's retrograde in Cancer. Venus is retrograde in Gemini. I'm so confused because Venus is a feminine, like moon type energy, and Mercury rules Gemini, but he's in Cancer. So those two keep confusing me. Anyway, Venus going direct. This is money. It's good about money. It's having multiple income streams around communications and broadcasting. So it's also about women in broadcasting and having a feminine voice again. So we're going to see some more of that, the women and what they have to say. I just read this morning, Nancy Pelosi's criticizing Donald Trump again. Who knew? Of course she's going to do that. And then Uranus is still in Taurus, and he's direct. He has not gone retrograde yet. But I think that pretty much covers what's going on, with the exception of a lot of other asteroids, which I just can't fit all that into my podcast. So I hope you have a good week. Please stay safe. Pay attention to your health. Know that your immune system is the thing that you need to focus on. Take your vitamin C, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. Good to see you.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.